of Sodom and Gomorrah, and he would talk to people, and he would talk to them about God, but they were too busy to really listen and pay attention, and they didn't know what was coming. They didn't know what to look for. And I don't want it to be like this thinking about all those things. So Pastor put in a story from a book called The Boys of Summer. There was this guy who was a boy in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and he loved baseball. And so it draw me in. And the Brooklyn Dodgers was a great team. It had Jackie Robinson, who I think everybody's probably heard of. If there's one ball player people have heard of, well, maybe Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson. Well, Jackie Robinson was the first black player to come into the major leagues, broke the color barrier. And he faced a lot of problems. A lot of people didn't like playing with him, and they wouldn't play against him. And Carl Erskine was a pitcher. He was a fastball pitcher, but his out pitch was a curveball. So he would throw down and away, and then he would throw up and in. And if the guy was covering the plate too much, he would throw up and in real hard and knock him down, because good Christians knock down players who cover the plate too much. You own the outside, the hitter owns the inside. But Carl had grown up in Indiana in a family that was a good, solid, sound Baptist family. They loved Jesus. And I know we don't like the Baptists, but they love Jesus anyway. No, we love the Baptists. We love them. See, I heard somebody listening. We like the Baptists. I got two uncles, they're Baptist preachers. They gave me a terrible time when I was growing up, being a Nazarene, but we still love each other. One of them's in heaven. I'll love him later, but I loved him then. But Carl grew up in Indiana in a Baptist family, and his dad took him on a special trip. He took him to a place where there had been a race riot when Carl was like 6, 7, 8 years old. Now, you might ask, well, why is he getting him that young? Because he wanted him to understand what happened. He said there were people who wanted to keep black people down, and this is where they did it. And so Carl learned at an early age that being black wasn't a bad thing, that we're all people, and that God loves all of us, and we all have the image of God inside us, every one of us. And so when Carl was playing baseball, he saw there was a kid, a young black kid that wasn't on a team, and he was sitting on the fence, and Carl invited him over, and he was on Carl's team. And Carl, who later became a major league pitcher, was the best player on the team. So everybody let him play on the team because Carl thought he should be on the team. And then Carl was going to be drafted. Well, that wasn't really a draft. Somebody was going to sign him. And he wanted to play for the Dodgers, so he waited and waited till the Dodgers were willing to sign him. But that was about 1944, and he decided while he was waiting he'd go join the Navy. And so he served in the Navy. And he didn't get overseas, but he served, and then the war was over, and then he signed with the Dodgers. And then he took a couple of years. In 1948, he went up to the majors. And he's in spring training. His first year in the majors, he's got all these people around him and all this expectations, and there was a young mom with her kid, and they happened to be black, and the kid was looking at him all odd that he was throwing so hard. I figure he probably hard compared to nowadays. They throw 100 in majors nowadays. He probably threw 95, 96, 97. That was pretty hard. There were some guys who threw 100, but not very many. But I told you it's going to be boring some places. I told you that. Because I'm a nerd. But, shake your head, it's okay. Yes, I am. But, that's right. I said I'd tell the truth here. But he went over because that kid was looking like he was in awe, and he was talking to that kid real big and real bright. And by then, Jackie Robinson had been on the Dodgers for a couple of years. You know, he had Pee Wee Reese as a teammate, and people were starting to accept him. One of the players who was on the Dodgers and said, I'd never play with a black man, demanded to be traded, and then after he was traded, he said, you know, he is a major league player. I shouldn't have done that. And, Carl went over to this family, and it was Jackie's family. He didn't even know it. And Jackie stopped to thank him later on, and Carl said, "What do you mean? I'm just talking to people, just trying to be a good person." Because Carl was listening to God the whole way through. He wasn't allowing everything else to get in his way. And he threw for 12 years, and he pitched along with another guy who was a really good pitcher, sinker ball pitcher. And he wasn't a bad guy or anything, but all he thought about was baseball. When his kids were growing up, he was thinking about how he could make his sinker sharper. And when there were opportunities to take days off to go to the family, he was thinking about how he could get a pay raise. He was thinking he was taking care of the family, but he wasn't really there for the family. And Tina can tell you, I had some days I probably could have spent more time with the family that I regret. Although they still love me, they spend time with me, they tolerate me with time to time. But that guy, his name was Clem Labine. Clem later on said how much he regretted that he didn't have time with his kids, because now his kids didn't take time to spend with him. Well, when Carl was right at the end of his career, he got an offer to go to New York. And he was going to go to New York, and they had moved back to Indiana, because back then baseball players didn't get paid like they do today. Nowadays, if you get a signing bonus, you could probably retire. Back then, you had to work 2 jobs, and unless you were a superstar, you really had to make money tight. Well, he got an offer from a New York firm to go work for a clothing apparel place. And they got stars, and they would pay him lots of money to not do much but show up. And he was all excited because he had a job after he retired. And then his wife, they found out his wife had already had 3 kids, found out their last kid had Down syndrome. Now this was 1960, so it's a lot different than it is today. Nowadays, we have Special Olympics, and we have a lot of people who have explained over the years that being developmentally disabled or having Down syndrome or having anything different about you isn't a big deal. You're still a great human being. Well, back then there was a lot of pressure to either put someone with Down syndrome into a house where they could be institutionalized, or if you took them home, if you were that generous, you would put them in a room in the back of the house, and that's where they would be when company came over. Well, Carl and his wife, I think her name's Betty, could be wrong, but I think it's Betty. Carl and his wife said, "No, thank you. This is our son." And as a matter of fact, Carl, after he retired, he said no to the job in New York because he didn't think New York was the best place to raise a kid. He wanted to do it at home where he knew that Jimmy would be all right. And then he still worked there, but he found a job that he could spend all the extra time he could with Jimmy. And Jimmy was only expected to live to 35. Now, I worked with a guy that had Down syndrome in the 90s, and the expectation was a little further along. In the 60s, if a person with Down syndrome lived to 35, that was a good life. And when I was in the 90s, I think it was right about 45, 50, and Jimmy Erskine went with his dad everywhere. Carl would go to baseball card signings, and he would get paid money to go get in at a bench for hours and sign autographs, and Jimmy would be right beside him. And Carl taught Jimmy how to play the what's it called? Harmonica, thank you. Had a minute. So he taught Jimmy how to play the harmonica, and they would play Happy Birthday to some of the other players and put it on video eventually. And Jimmy lived till he was 63. And Carl died 1 year later at the age of 97. Well, why did I tell you all that useless baseball information? Because Carl was listening to God the whole time. And he was hearing what God wanted him to do. And he didn't miss out on all the incredible things that God had in mind for him. If he had put Jimmy, now I don't think abortions would have been allowed. It was a little early for that. I don't know, it was before my time. I'm way younger than that. I was born in 70, which is a long time ago, by the way. But they wouldn't have considered it, I don't think. But they would have been expected to have put Jimmy in a home and gone and visited him every once in a while. It certainly, he went above the step. Next step was they would have had Jimmy in the house, but they wouldn't really have had much to do with Jimmy, particularly with an audience there to see what's going on. And Carl and Betty didn't care because they loved their son and they loved Jesus. And the time of Noah, everyone had the opportunity to get on the ark. As a matter of fact, if anyone else had been listening to God at the time, God wanted everyone to live. God needed to destroy the world because the world had stopped listening to him. But God wanted everyone that was in the world at that time to get on that ark or an ark. And when Lot in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and we think of them as evil places, and sure, they were doing a lot of evil things, but have you ever watched the show Jerry Springer? There's evil things around today. I know it's not on anymore. That dates me a little further. What's the show nowadays that's like Jerry Springer? I don't even know. Okay, thank you. That was quick. I don't know who that is. I guess I'm probably not going to look it up, but thank you. I don't know. We have similar things today. And we have people all around us. And they're not horrible people. They're not like one of the bad guys in Chad's Western that he's got. Although they were good bad guys, I hear. I'm going to have to read that sometime. Yeah. Don't mean to embarrass you. I hope I didn't. If I did, I guess I did twice. But anyway, most of the people around us aren't bad people. They're just not hearing God. And we are hearing God. And that lightning that's going to come across the sky, it's going to make it clear what we already know. Everybody's going to see it. But it's going to be too late for a lot of people because they've already made their choices, and they're going to look back and they're going to say, I've lived my life, and I wasted it. But it's not going to be too late if we love them. Now, I only say that because there's people in my life that I care about, that I want them to get to heaven. And I want them to have good lives. And even if they get to heaven, but they waste 82 years of it, I'm going to feel really bad. Because it's 82 years they could have lived incredible lives. And they lived okay lives, but not what God has in mind for them. And so today I say all this, and Trista was hoping I get done early because Chloe's got a thing, but I'm embarrassing everyone. Nobody's safe today, okay? Thank you. Were we early? Good. All right, good, because I'm almost done. But there's people in your life. I just say start praying for them, that they start seeing the lightning before the lightning comes. And they're going to see your life, and they're going to see your love, and they're going to see everything you're doing, and they're going to wonder why you're doing it the way you're doing it. Because you love so much, and yet you do things so differently than they do. And it's an opportunity to share the truth. Now, Carl Erskine, I saw a video of him, so I was thinking about this all night because Pastor texted me yesterday. And so I wake up in the middle of the night and I get my phone and I have it low enough Tina couldn't hear it, and I would look up videos of Carl Erskine, and he's playing the harmonica with his son, and he looks so happy. And I want my friends to be happy. So today, I guess, all I would say is just pray for your friends that you know aren't happy, because you can help them to find God. And once they find God, they're really going to be happy. And now, as we get closer to the time that we remember Jesus leaving this earth, going on a cross for us, so that we could be happy, we're going to share in the communion. It's both a command by Christ, but it's also